Do you ever think about those hilarious commercials from the 1980s? The ones so outrageous they made everyone laugh? Back then, these funniest commercials shaped how families watched television together, selling products in ways that seem shocking today. So, what happened to those ads that made us howl before the world banned them? Spuds McKenzie was the party animal the 1980s never knew it needed until Bud Light introduced a bull terrier in sunglasses, Hawaiian shirts, and an entourage of adoring women wherever he went. The commercials were absurdly funny, showing this stocky white dog lounging poolside, riding jet skis, and hosting the wildest beach parties imaginable. Kids imitated his signature look, parents chuckled at the ridiculous premise, and the dog became an instant celebrity with merchandise flooding stores everywhere. People believed Spuds was living his best life, even though every scene was staged to make alcohol look like the ticket to endless fun. The humor came from pretending a dog understood coolness better than most humans ever could. But regulators saw something far less amusing. Critics argued the ads targeted children by using a cute mascot to sell beer, training a new generation to associate alcohol with happiness. When pressure mounted, Anheuser-Busch pulled the campaign entirely, and Spuds quietly retired from the spotlight. Today, those commercials feel like relics of a time when advertising had no boundaries around alcohol and youth appeal. Joe Camel strolled onto screens in the 1980s with the swagger of a cartoon character who had wandered out of a jazz club and into every commercial break. The dromedary with the oversized snout, leather jacket, and perpetually cool demeanor became the face of Camel cigarettes in a campaign so slick it barely felt like advertising. Kids recognized Joe faster than most politicians, and studies confirmed children identified the cartoon Camel as easily as Mickey Mouse. The commercials showed Joe playing pool, riding motorcycles, and hanging out with attractive people who seemed thrilled to be near him. The humor was subtle but effective, turning a cigarette brand into something fun and impossibly stylish. Parents laughed at the absurdity of a cartoon camel living a cooler life than anyone they knew, but health advocates were horrified, arguing that a cartoon mascot was a deliberate strategy to hook young audiences before they understood smoking dangers. Lawsuits piled up, outrage intensified, and regulators forced the campaign into retirement. Today, Joe Camel stands as one of the most notorious examples of advertising that crossed a line nobody should have needed to draw. Jovan Musk commercials in the 1980s answered a question nobody had technically asked, but everyone secretly wondered about. The ads featured close-up shots of skin, whispered voiceovers, and slow-motion scenes that felt like someone wandered into a steamy foreign film. The tagline promised wearing the cologne would unlock something primal, delivered with sensuality that made living rooms feel awkward when the whole family was watching. Parents shifted uncomfortably, kids giggled without understanding why, and the product flew off shelves despite making everyone embarrassed. The humor came from how seriously the ads took themselves, treating a drugstore cologne like a potion capable of transforming ordinary people into objects of desire. Every frame dripped with exaggerated passion, every whisper promised forbidden excitement. But as standards for television advertising tightened, these overtly suggestive commercials became impossible to air during family programming. Regulators decided the imagery was too explicit for general audiences, and Jovan had to tone down dramatically. Those commercials feel like time capsules of an era when selling cologne meant selling fantasy. Crazy Eddie electronics store commercials were an assault on the senses in the best possible way, featuring a fast-talking pitchman who screamed at the camera like his life depended on selling stereos. His catchphrase became legendary overnight, shouted at such volume and speed that it felt like the commercial might explode. The ads promised prices so insane that competing with them was apparently impossible, and viewers believed they were getting deals that defied economics. Kids memorized the jingle, parents quoted it at dinner tables, and the sheer manic energy made these commercials impossible to ignore, even if you had no intention of buying anything. The humor was unintentional, but undeniable, because watching a grown man lose his mind over discounted televisions was comedy gold. People tuned in just to see what outrageous claim would come next. But behind the scenes, the real Crazy Eddie was running a massive fraud scheme that eventually sent him to prison. The commercials vanished once the scandal broke, and regulators cracked down on deceptive pricing claims that had fueled the campaign. Today, those screaming ads feel both hilarious and unsettling. Winston cigarettes sponsoring the Flintstones seems like a fever dream now, but in the early days, those animated commercials were as real as bedrock itself. Fred and Barney would take breaks from their prehistoric antics to light up Winstons, puffing contentedly while praising the smooth taste. The scenes showed cartoon characters sneaking away from chores, hiding from their wives, and sharing cigarettes like passing around a secret that made adulthood bearable. Kids at home saw their favorite animated heroes treating smoking as perfectly normal, even desirable. Parents laughed at the situations because they recognized themselves in Fred and Barney dodging responsibilities. The humor was situational, relying on classic domestic comedy tropes that happened to feature cigarettes as casual props. Nobody imagined these ads would become infamous examples of targeting children through trusted characters. When cigarette advertising on television was banned, these Flintstones commercials became shocking artifacts of an era that mixed cartoons and tobacco without hesitation. They remain banned and rarely shown except as cautionary examples of how advertising operated without ethical boundaries. High Karate aftershave commercials promised something no grooming product had ever dared guarantee, that wearing this cologne would make men so irresistible they would need self-defense training to fend off admirers. The ads showed ordinary guys splashing on the aftershave and immediately being tackled, grabbed, and chased by beautiful women who could not control their desire. Each commercial ended with the absurd punchline, warning viewers to be careful because High Karate was simply too powerful. Kids found the concept hilarious, watching grown men karate chop through crowds of swooning women like action heroes in a perfume commercial. Parents chuckled at the exaggerated premise, recognizing harmless fun that nobody could take seriously. The humor worked because it leaned so hard into the ridiculous that it became a parody of masculine fantasies. But as advertising standards evolved, regulators grew uncomfortable with the implication that women would lose self-control around men wearing the right scent. The commercials were quietly retired and High Karate faded into obscurity. Today, those ads feel like relics of a time when absurd gender dynamics could be played for laughs. The Energizer Bunny became an advertising phenomenon by doing something brilliantly simple, interrupting fake commercials with a drumming pink rabbit that just kept going and going. These parody ads pretended to sell everything from wine coolers to hemorrhoid cream before the bunny crashed through, batteries blazing. The humor was layered and self-aware, poking fun at advertising itself while being one of the most effective ad campaigns of the decade. Kids loved the unexpected chaos, parents appreciated the clever writing, and everyone remembered the bunny long after forgetting what batteries he was selling. The fake commercials were often funnier than real ones, satirizing pharmaceutical ads, perfume spots, and infomercials with pitch-perfect absurdity. But some parody commercials pushed boundaries that regulators deemed inappropriate. Certain spoofed products touched on adult themes, and the line between satire and endorsement became blurry enough to draw complaints. A handful of edgier spots were pulled from rotation, making them rare treasures of 80s advertising. Those banned versions still circulate among collectors who remember when the bunny mocked everything. Miller Lite commercials turned a simple beer argument into one of the most entertaining ad campaigns of the 1980s, featuring retired athletes and celebrities screaming at each other over whether the beer tasted great or was less filling. The debates escalated into absurd physical confrontations, barroom brawls, and comedic standoffs that made choosing a side feel like the most important decision anyone could make. Kids imitated the arguments on playgrounds, parents quoted the catchphrases at parties, and the campaign became a cultural touchstone that transcended beer advertising. The humor worked because the stakes were deliberately low while the passion was cranked impossibly high. Watching famous athletes nearly come to blows over a beer slogan was comedy gold. But some commercials featured scenarios regulators found problematic, including depictions of drinking that implied intoxication was funny rather than dangerous. The more aggressive spots were quietly retired as alcohol advertising guidelines tightened. Today, those classic debates feel like relics of a time when beer commercials could be genuinely hilarious without worrying about the message they sent. Clara Peller became an unlikely superstar in the 1980s when she squinted at a tiny hamburger patty and demanded to know where the beef was hiding. The Wendy's commercials featuring this elderly woman and her exasperated catchphrase became instant sensations, spawning merchandise, political references, and parodies that proved how deeply the phrase penetrated American culture. The humor came from Clara's genuine frustration, delivered with authentic annoyance that viewers could not help but laugh at. Kids repeated the line constantly, parents used it to complain about anything disappointing, and Clara herself became a celebrity interviewed on talk shows. The original commercials were harmless, but Clara's subsequent appearance in a competing pasta sauce commercial violated her Wendy's contract and sparked a legal battle that ended her advertising career. Wendy's pulled the campaign, Clara faded from public view, and the phrase lingered as a cultural artifact with a complicated legacy. Regulators also scrutinized the ads for misleading claims about competitor sizes. Today, those commercials remind us how quickly advertising gold can turn controversial. Bill Cosby selling Jell-O pudding pops in the 1980s was advertising synergy at its peak, combining America's favorite television dad with America's favorite frozen treat in commercials that felt like extensions of family warmth. The ads showed Cosby mugging for the camera, making faces, and delivering signature comedic timing while surrounded by children reaching for pudding pops. Parents trusted him implicitly, kids adored his playful energy, and the commercials sold millions of desserts by associating the product with wholesome fun. The humor came from Cosby's natural charisma, his ability to make even a simple frozen snack feel like an event worth celebrating. Every commercial reinforced the idea that pudding pops meant happiness, togetherness, and innocent joy. For decades, these ads remained beloved examples of celebrity endorsement done perfectly. But when criminal allegations against Cosby surfaced and convictions followed, every commercial featuring his face became impossible to air. Jell-O severed ties, and the ads were pulled permanently. Today, those commercials exist in a strange limbo, banned not for their content, but for the man who made them famous. The California Raisins danced their way into the hearts of America during the 1980s, a group of claymation raisins performing Motown classics while wearing sunglasses and snapping their wrinkled fingers to the beat. The commercials were so unexpectedly entertaining that people forgot they were watching advertisements for dried fruit. Kids begged parents to buy raisins just to feel connected to the singing sensations, and merchandise exploded onto shelves faster than anyone anticipated. The humor came from the sheer absurdity of making raisins cool, turning a healthy snack into something rebellious and fun. Parents loved that their children suddenly wanted to eat fruit, even if it came with demands for lunchboxes and t-shirts. The catchy music and smooth dance moves made every commercial feel like a tiny concert. But licensing disputes eventually tangled the campaign in legal knots, and concerns arose about using popular music to market food to children. Some spots were pulled when music rights expired, and the raisins faded from television. Today, those claymation commercials remain cult classics, remembered fondly by a generation that learned to love dried grapes through song. Bartles and Jaymes wine cooler commercials featured two elderly gentlemen sitting on a porch, delivering deadpan pitches that made audiences laugh without quite knowing why. Frank and Ed spoke directly to the camera with folksy charm, thanking viewers for their support in a tone so sincere it bordered on parody. The humor was subtle and dry, a stark contrast to the loud, flashy ads dominating the decade. Kids found the old men strangely fascinating, while adults appreciated the clever writing that made selling alcohol feel almost wholesome. Every commercial ended with the same polite sign-off that became instantly quotable. But regulators grew concerned that the grandfatherly appeal made alcohol seem too approachable, too friendly, too much like something that belonged on every porch in America. Critics argued the ads normalized drinking by wrapping it in warmth and nostalgia. As alcohol advertising standards tightened, the campaign was quietly retired, and Frank and Ed disappeared from screens. Today, those porch conversations feel like relics of a time when selling wine coolers meant selling a lifestyle that no longer fits modern guidelines. Billy D. Williams made malt liquor seem impossibly suave in the 1980s, appearing in Colt 45 commercials that dripped with smooth confidence and movie star charm. He spoke to the camera with a voice like velvet, promising the beverage worked every time while surrounded by glamorous settings. The humor came from the over-the-top sophistication, turning cheap malt liquor into something that felt exclusive. Kids recognized him from Star Wars, making the commercials feel connected to their favorite films. Parents chuckled at the exaggerated coolness, while wondering if the drink really was that smooth. The tagline became legendary, repeated in comedy sketches and conversations for years. But critics raised concerns about targeting lower-income communities with glamorized alcohol advertising. Regulators questioned whether aspirational messaging created unrealistic associations between drinking and success. The campaign faded as standards evolved, and Billy D moved on to other projects. Today, those commercials remain nostalgic artifacts of an era when celebrity endorsements for alcohol faced far fewer restrictions. McDonaldland commercials in the 1980s created a fantasy universe populated by characters designed to make children beg for Happy Meals. Ronald McDonald led the cast alongside Grimace, the Hamburglar, and Mayor McCheese, colorful creatures who turned fast food into adventure. The humor was broad and silly, filled with slapstick chases and plots that ended with everyone enjoying burgers together. Kids memorized every character, collected toys featuring their favorites, and dragged parents to the Golden Arches with enthusiasm. The commercials transformed a restaurant into a destination where imagination and chicken nuggets coexisted. Parents appreciated the entertainment value even while reaching for their wallets. But concerns about marketing junk food directly to children eventually caught up with the campaign. Health advocates argued that fantasy characters selling burgers created unhealthy associations lasting into adulthood. Regulators pressured the company to reduce child-targeted advertising, and many beloved characters quietly disappeared. Today, those old McDonaldland ads feel like time capsules of an era when fast food marketing to kids faced almost no restrictions. Michelob beer commercials in the 1980s promised that the night itself belonged to anyone holding their premium lager, set against backdrops of jazz clubs, city lights, and impossibly attractive people having the time of their lives. The ads featured smooth music, slow-motion glamour shots, and an atmosphere so aspirational it made viewers believe upgrading their beer could upgrade their existence. The humor was unintentional but real. As the commercials took themselves so seriously, they became almost satirical. Kids watched during prime time, absorbing messages about nightlife sophistication years before they could legally participate. Parents found the commercials amusing, recognizing the exaggerated fantasy while being drawn to the polished imagery. The tagline became synonymous with upscale drinking culture. But regulators questioned whether glamorizing nightlife in beer commercials encouraged excessive consumption. Critics argued the ads linked alcohol too closely with success and romance. The campaign was retired as advertising standards evolved, leaving behind a legacy of smooth jazz and broken promises about what one beer could deliver. Nair hair removal commercials in the 1980s featured women in impossibly short shorts singing a jingle so catchy it embedded itself permanently in the brains of everyone who heard it. The ads promised smooth legs and confident summers, delivered with choreography that felt like a beach party crossed with a music video. Kids sang along without understanding what they were advertising, while teenagers absorbed messages about body hair and beauty standards that would shape their self-image for years. The humor came from the sheer enthusiasm of the production, treating leg hair removal like the most exciting development in human history. Parents tolerated the jingles while privately wondering if the ads were appropriate for family viewing. The commercials ran constantly during summer months, becoming as much a part of the season as barbecues and fireworks. But as conversations about body image and advertising to young audiences evolved, the campaign drew criticism for promoting unrealistic beauty standards. The iconic jingle faded from airwaves, though it lives on in the memories of anyone who survived 80s television. Oldsmobile launched a campaign in the late 1980s, desperately trying to convince younger buyers that their cars were not just for old people, using a tagline that became an unintentional comedy classic. The commercials featured sleek vehicles, modern music, and attractive young drivers doing everything possible to escape the brand's elderly reputation. The humor was mostly unintentional, as the ads tried so hard to be cool that they achieved the opposite effect. Kids watching recognized the desperation even if they could not articulate it, while their parents found the campaign amusingly tone-deaf. The tagline backfired spectacularly, reminding everyone exactly whose father did drive an Oldsmobile. Critics mocked the campaign relentlessly, turning the slogan into a punchline that haunted the brand for years. When the ads failed to attract younger buyers, they were quietly retired, and Oldsmobile continued its slow decline toward eventual discontinuation. Today, those commercials serve as textbook examples of marketing that accidentally highlighted the exact problem it was trying to solve. Madge the manicurist became a household name in commercials that somehow made dish soap feel like a spa treatment, casually revealing to surprised customers that they were soaking their fingers in Palmolive. The 1980s versions continued a campaign that had run for years, featuring Madge's knowing smile and the shocked reactions of women who could not believe something so gentle was dishwashing liquid. The humor came from the absurd premise that anyone would unknowingly soak in soap, yet the commercials worked because Madge felt like a trusted friend sharing beauty secrets. Kids found the reveal genuinely surprising every time, while parents appreciated the gentle comedy that broke up evening programming. The catchphrase became instantly recognizable, quoted in homes and offices across America. But as advertising shifted away from gendered household product marketing and the premise grew dated, the campaign was retired. Critics had also questioned whether the commercials reinforced outdated stereotypes about women and domestic work. Today, Madge lives on in nostalgic memory, a relic of gentler advertising that feels charmingly old-fashioned. Parkay Margarine commercials featured a talking tub that stubbornly insisted it was butter while frustrated humans tried to correct it, creating a comedic battle between packaging and reality. The 1980s versions continued this absurd premise with elaborate scenarios where the tub spoke in a smug voice, refusing to accept its true identity. Kids found the talking container hilarious, treating each commercial like a tiny comedy sketch. Parents chuckled at the silly premise while appreciating that at least this advertisement was harmless fun. The humor worked precisely because it made no logical sense, turning a mundane product into something with unexpected personality. The tub's insistence became a running joke, quoted whenever anyone confused two similar things. But concerns about misleading advertising eventually caught up with the campaign. Regulators questioned whether the repeated butter claims, even in humorous context, confused consumers about what they were buying. The talking tub was silenced, and Parkay moved on to straightforward marketing. Today, those commercials remain beloved examples of absurdist advertising that pushed boundaries. Shake and Bake commercials featured adorable children proudly announcing that they helped make dinner, turning a convenience product into a family bonding moment that tugged at heartstrings. The 1980s versions showed kids shaking bags of coating mixed with enormous enthusiasm, while parents beamed with pride at their tiny kitchen assistants. The humor came from the children's genuine excitement over such a simple task, treating bag shaking like a culinary achievement worthy of celebration. Kids watching wanted to help too, begging parents to buy the product so they could participate in dinner preparation. The commercials positioned a shortcut as quality family time, which was marketing genius wrapped in wholesome imagery. Parents appreciated feeling like good providers who included their children in meal making. But critics eventually questioned whether the ads manipulated family guilt to sell processed food products. Concerns arose about marketing convenience foods through children's emotional appeals. The iconic phrase faded from commercials as advertising strategies evolved, though it remains embedded in the vocabulary of anyone who grew up watching 80s television. Soloflex home gym commercials in the 1980s featured shirtless men with impossibly chiseled bodies, demonstrating exercise equipment in ways that felt more like art photography than fitness advertising. The black and white imagery, dramatic lighting, and glistening muscles turned each commercial into a miniature event that stopped conversations. The humor was entirely unintentional, as the ads took their sculpted subjects so seriously that they became accidental parodies of masculine ideals. Kids stared in confused fascination. Parents exchanged knowing glances, and everyone remembered the visuals long after forgetting what the equipment did. The commercials promised transformation through dedication, showing bodies that seemed carved from stone. But regulators grew concerned about the suggestive nature of the imagery during family programming. Critics argued the ads objectified men in ways that pushed boundaries for general audiences. The provocative spots were restricted to late-night time slots, and the campaign faded as fitness marketing evolved. Today, those commercials remain cult favorites, remembered as much for their unintentional comedy as their impressive physiques. The Swedish Bikini team became advertising shorthand for everything wrong with beer commercials when Old Milwaukee introduced blonde models who appeared whenever men cracked open a cold one. The spots showed ordinary guys fishing, camping, or relaxing when suddenly bikini-clad women materialized like a reward for choosing the right beverage. The humor was intentionally absurd, playing on male fantasies so exaggerated that the commercials winked at their own ridiculousness. Kids found the sudden appearances confusing. Parents rolled their eyes at the obvious pandering, and everyone understood what the ads were really selling. The team became instantly recognizable, spawning parodies and endless debates about taste in advertising. But critics argued the commercials objectified women in ways that normalized problematic attitudes. Complaints mounted, lawsuits followed, and regulators pressured the company to retire the campaign. The Swedish Bikini team vanished from television, becoming a cautionary tale about how far beer advertising had strayed before standards tightened. Today, those commercials serve as exhibits and discussions about advertising ethics. Taster's Choice coffee commercials in the late 1980s invented a new format by telling a serialized romance across multiple episodes that kept viewers genuinely invested in whether two neighbors would get together. The ads featured attractive adults borrowing coffee, sharing meaningful glances, and building tension so effectively that people discussed them like actual television programming. The humor was sophisticated, playing on soap opera tropes while acknowledging that everyone knew it was just an ad for instant coffee. Kids found the romance boring, but their parents leaned forward whenever a new episode aired. The campaign proved that commercials could tell stories compelling enough to create fan followings. But as the format grew stale and audiences became savvy to the manipulation, the magic faded. The campaign was retired when viewer interest declined and parodies overshadowed the original charm. The serialized romance format disappeared from coffee marketing, replaced by simpler approaches. Today, those Taster's Choice ads remain fascinating experiments in advertising storytelling that briefly made instant coffee feel romantic. Life Alert commercials became unintentionally hilarious in the late 1980s when an elderly woman's desperate cry for help transformed into one of the most quoted phrases in advertising history. The ads showed seniors in distress, pressing their alert buttons and speaking the line with such earnest urgency that it became comedy gold for anyone with a dark sense of humor. The commercials were meant to be serious, warning families about dangers elderly relatives faced living alone. But something about the delivery and dramatic reenactments crossed a line into unintentional absurdity. Kids imitated the catchphrase constantly, comedians built routines around it, and the phrase entered everyday vocabulary as shorthand for any minor inconvenience. Life Alert found itself in an awkward position, benefiting from awareness while being mocked relentlessly. Eventually, the company modified its advertising approach, and regulators questioned whether the fear-based marketing was appropriate. Today, those original commercials remain infamous examples of advertising that achieved fame for entirely unintended reasons. Mentos commercials in the late 1980s featured people solving absurd problems by popping a mint and flashing a confident smile, accompanied by a jingle so aggressively cheerful it bordered on parody. The scenarios made no logical sense. A man sits on a freshly painted bench, eats a Mentos, then rolls across the paint to create pinstripes on his suit, while onlookers applaud. The humor was deeply weird, presenting solutions that defied physics, social norms, and common sense. Kids loved the bizarre scenarios, Parents found them baffling, and everyone remembered the jingle whether they wanted to or not. The commercials became so associated with absurdist logic that they spawned countless parodies mocking the format. The Freshmaker became shorthand for solving problems through inexplicable confidence rather than competence. But as the style grew dated and parodies overwhelmed the originals, the campaign was retired. Critics had also questioned whether the ads encouraged reckless behavior by suggesting problems could be solved through attitude alone. Today, those commercials remain beloved artifacts of a stranger time in advertising. Makeup ads promising obedient women are some of the most jaw-dropping relics of the 1970s. Certain campaigns literally tied beauty to submission, suggesting that women who used their products would be more pleasing, more manageable, and more acceptable to men. The ads were dressed up with soft lighting, elegant music, and romantic slogans, but the underlying message was clear. Cosmetics were not about self-expression, they were about control. Models gazed longingly at men who looked on approvingly, as though mascara or lipstick was the secret to a compliant personality. For teenage girls flipping through magazines, these messages set a dangerous standard about what it meant to be attractive. The ads reinforced outdated gender roles under the guise of glamour, selling the idea that beauty meant silence and obedience. In a decade where women were fighting for equality in the workplace and beyond, the contrast is staggering. It shows how deeply advertising clung to old stereotypes, even as society was pushing forward. Today, these ads look more like satire than marketing, but in their time, they were taken seriously. Tanning bed ads promoting safe sun alternatives ran frequently in the 1980s, promising golden skin without the risks of outdoor exposure. These commercials featured glowing models stepping out of sleek machines, looking bronzed, healthy, and impossibly confident. The message was clear. Tanning beds offered control, convenience, and beauty on demand. Salons marketed themselves as wellness destinations, and families saw nothing wrong with teenagers booking sessions before prom. Parents believed the advertisements because they seemed scientific, using words like controlled UV exposure that made artificial tanning sound medicinal. Nobody imagined these machines could damage skin faster than the sun they claimed to replace. When researchers linked tanning beds to dramatically increase skin cancer risks, the advertising landscape shifted overnight. Regulators banned claims of safety and health benefits that had filled these commercials. The sleek tanning bed became a symbol of danger rather than beauty. Today, it is chilling to think how many people trusted ads promising glow without consequence, unaware that the machines carried risks nobody mentioned until it was too late. It's time to discuss the fruit that has an entire song dedicated to it. Chiquita bananas weren't just fruit. They were stars, thanks to their Carmen Miranda-inspired jingle.
Chiquita banana, and I've come to say, bananas have to ripen in a certain way.
I'm Chiquita Banana, and I've come to say, don't deny it. You just sang that in your head. The adverts included a cartoon banana with a hat filled with other fruits to show us how to handle and consume bananas. Do not store them in the refrigerator, they advised. Let them ripen just right. It was like having a chef with a Broadway voice cook for me and explain what he was doing at the same time. Chiquita first introduced this tropical spectacle in 1944, and the campaign was so good that the song was played on the radio. The banana mascot had thus evolved into an American symbol by the 60s. My family adopted all of those lessons. No bananas in the fridge at any given time. The beauty of these ads was that they made the mundane and the prosaic look glamorous. Bananas became a luxury, entertaining, and a must-have in each breakfast. And who didn't want to join the chorus? Today's Chiquita logo is still in use, but the banana that sings is no more. However, for those of us who are old enough to remember this ad, there is always music playing in our heads when we are peeling a banana. Come on. You just ran your fingers over the skin of a banana to tell if it is ripe or not, right? Thanks, Chiquita. Beer commercials featuring kids or teens are perhaps the most unsettling examples of advertising gone too far. Some spots blurred the line, showing minors in scenes of celebration or casually included in parties where beer flowed freely. The implication was clear. Drinking was part of growing up, and everyone, even the young, could join in. Smiling teens clinked glasses, or children appeared in the background of ads that otherwise focused on adult fun. The casual nature of these portrayals made alcohol look normal and harmless for all ages. Critics called them out, but companies defended the ads as playful or symbolic. The truth is, they were planting seeds early, using images of youth to build comfort with their products. Looking back, it is hard to imagine how these spots ever aired without backlash. Today they feel shocking, but in their moment, they were brushed off as clever marketing. It is a chilling reminder of how blurred the lines once were. Alcohol ads featuring pregnant women socializing appeared with surprising frequency in the 1980s, showing expectant mothers enjoying wine at dinner parties and relaxing with cocktails as if pregnancy changed nothing. These commercials reflected a time when medical guidance about alcohol and pregnancy remained vague and largely ignored by advertisers seeking the widest possible audience. Women saw themselves represented in ads that normalized drinking throughout all stages of life, including pregnancy. Nobody questioned the imagery because doctors often downplayed the risks, and advertisers followed cultural norms rather than scientific caution. Families watched these commercials without alarm, absorbing the message that a glass of wine posed no real danger. It was only later, when research firmly established the connection between alcohol during pregnancy and developmental harm, that outrage arrived. Regulators banned any advertising depicting pregnant women drinking, and warning labels became mandatory on all alcohol products. Today, those old commercials feel almost unbelievable, relics of an era when advertising priorities overshadowed the safety of the most vulnerable. Picture this: a hill, a rainbow of people with glasses full of Coke, and a tune so irresistible that it made the world think that a soda can bring everyone together. The Coca-Cola commercial that went on air in 1971, "I'd like to buy the world a Coke," was not just a commercial, but was a phenomenon.
I'd like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company.
It's like the anthem for anybody who has ever drunk a Coke and then thought to himself, you know what this could do? It could solve world peace. The ad had a group of singers singing about harmony and happiness, all holding bottles of the soft drink. Fun fact, the song was so successful that it was released as a single and even reached the charts on the Billboard. My mom had it on vinyl, and I'm sure she still does, though I haven't seen it in years. Here's the kicker. It almost didn't happen. Rain nearly derailed the shoot in Italy, but when the sun was out, the impossible seemed possible. Coca-Cola got it right on the head with this one. They touched on something that is timeless. It makes me feel like I want to get a Coke, invite my friends, and sing about whatever. The jingle is no longer aired, but the message it sought to pass on to the public is timeless. Let's all just chill with a Coke. Is it even possible to drink soda if you don't hum this tune? Cigarette ads on primetime television were once as common as commercials for laundry detergent. Before the bans, some of the biggest stars in entertainment openly endorsed cigarette brands during family shows. Popular actors, athletes, and even talk show hosts lit up on screen, promising smoother flavor or cleaner smoke. The ads were not limited to late-night hours either. They aired during the very programs kids and parents watched together. Entire families might see their favorite celebrity recommend a particular brand, turning it into the cool or trusted choice. The commercials made smoking seem not only safe but glamorous, framing it as a natural part of modern living. What makes it so unsettling now is how openly the ads invaded the spaces where health warnings should have mattered most. Children were exposed to them constantly, and parents received the subliminal message that smoking was an acceptable part of daily life. The shift from primetime endorsements to outright bans shows just how dramatically cultural understanding changed. But back then, lighting up with your favorite star felt like the most natural thing in the world. Toy commercials with exaggerated action sequences dominated children's programming in the 1980s, transforming plastic figures into epic heroes battling across landscapes that existed only in studio lighting. Kids watched in awe as action figures flew through the air, vehicles raced at impossible speeds, and playsets transformed into battlefields that looked nothing like what waited inside the box. The commercials used camera angles, sound effects, and dramatic music to create excitement no living room could replicate. Children begged for toys they had seen perform miracles on screen, only to discover that gravity and reality worked very differently at home. Parents spent money on products that never matched the promise, and disappointment became part of the holiday morning ritual. Nobody questioned whether these ads crossed a line, because exaggeration was simply how toys were sold. When regulators finally demanded disclaimers like "assembly required" and "sold separately," the fantasy started crumbling. Today, toy ads must show products as they actually perform. Those old commercials remain a reminder of how easily wonder can be manufactured and sold. Elsie the Cow was not just any mascot, she was the mascot.
Milk. Beauregard.
Oh, Mom.
During the 60s, Borden's dairy products commercial made drinking milk and consuming cheese a family affair because of Elsie. Yes, a cartoon cow had more personality than half the television personalities of her generation. I recall seeing Elsie on everything from the milk cartons to cheese wrappings when I was at my grandma's. The commercials depicted her as a jovial, humorous cow with an ability to make people crave dairy products. Fun fact, Elsie first appeared in 1936 and was chosen as one of the greatest advertising characters of all time. Real quick, if you're loving this content as much as we loved making it, hit subscribe to stay connected and help us reach even more amazing folks like you. The ads were very family-oriented, and the portrayal of Elsie as the perfect mother who just so happened to be a cow was done in good taste. They made milk and cheese seem like something you could crave, which, let's face it, you can. Though Borden's is still in existence, Elsie is not the celebrity she used to be. But those old commercials? They're pure nostalgia gold. If you ever come across vintage Elsie merchandise, get it. It is a piece of advertising memorabilia. Now, every time I pour milk or sliced cheese, it reminds me of Elsie the Cow. She was not merely selling dairy, she was selling experiences. And let's be honest, dairy just tastes better when it comes with a side of cute cow imagery. Beer ads featuring pregnant women might sound like a dark joke today, but in the 1970s it was a real selling point. Some companies ran campaigns for light beer that claimed it was so mild, so harmless, that even expectant mothers could enjoy a glass without worry. You would see smiling women with round bellies raising their bottles in toast, suggesting that drinking was part of a healthy social lifestyle. At the time, the science about alcohol and pregnancy was not as widely known, and advertisers used that gap in awareness to their advantage. They leaned into the idea that a lighter beer meant safer indulgence, turning it into a product for everyone at the table. Neighbors and friends might even have believed the message, treating these ads as reassurance that moderation was perfectly fine. Looking back, it is chilling to realize how casual the tone was, almost as if they were advertising orange juice or iced tea. These ads remind us just how different cultural standards were, and how profit often outweighed responsibility. What was framed as a lifestyle choice then now stands as one of the most shocking missteps in advertising history. Pharmaceutical ads without side effect warnings ran constantly in the 1980s, painting every pill and syrup as a simple solution to life's discomforts. These commercials showed smiling families, active grandparents, and relieved workers returning to their lives after a single dose. The narrator spoke in warm, reassuring tones, promising fast relief without ever mentioning what could go wrong. Viewers trusted these ads because medicine was supposed to help, not harm, and the companies seemed too established to mislead anyone. Parents gave children cold remedies and pain relievers without reading fine print that barely existed. Nobody imagined that pills making their headaches disappear might carry risks no one mentioned on television. When regulations finally required drug companies to disclose side effects, the change was dramatic. Commercials suddenly filled with rapid warnings about nausea, dizziness, and far worse possibilities. Looking back, it is startling how many families medicated themselves based on commercials that told only half the story. Those old ads remain a reminder that silence can be just as misleading as any spoken claim. If you have ever sung My Bologna Has a First Name, it's OSCAR, you have been the victim of one of the most effective examples of food jingle brainwashing.
My only has a first name. It's O-S-C-A-R.
This 1973 Oscar Mayer ad didn't just sell bologna. It made lunch meat the star of the sandwich. The commercial was of a cute little boy sitting on a dock with his sandwich and spelling the name of the brand like the alphabet. It was adorable, memorable, and, to be quite honest, brilliant. It is quite funny how a simple bologna can be so adorable. Fun fact, the jingle was composed in less than an hour, and then it became popular. Oscar Mayer even encouraged kids to sing it and made every lunchbox a stage to perform on. My cousins and I used to sing it like we were in a competition with American Idol. I must admit that even if you don't like processed meats, you have to appreciate this advert. It made bologna trendy, or as trendy as lunch meat can be. And let's not forget the second verse. My bologna has a second name. It's M-A-Y-E-R. It's funny and catchy. Today, it is just a reminder of the past that commercials were jingles and sandwiches were the norm. Every time I hear it, I find myself again in front of the refrigerator door, wanting a bologna sandwich. Sugary cereal ads with toy bribes turned breakfast into a marketing battlefield. Every Saturday morning, commercials offered kids not only colorful cereal, but also the promise of a toy tucked inside the box. Marketers aggressively used giveaways, plastic cars, action figures, or stickers to hook children into begging their parents for the brand. The cereal itself was often little more than sugar-coated shapes, but the toy made the purchase irresistible. Kids compared collections at school, swapping duplicates and bragging about rare finds. Parents often gave in, knowing the real prize was not nutrition, but appeasing the excitement of their children. For advertisers, the toys were an easy way to build brand loyalty and guarantee repeat purchases. The strategy worked so well that it became nearly impossible for healthier cereals to compete. Looking back, it is shocking how openly companies marketed sugar under the disguise of fun. The ads sold childhood joy in exchange for long-term habits, and many of those cereals still carry the legacy today. Asbestos product commercials for home improvement aired regularly in the early 1980s, promoting insulation, roofing materials, and fireproofing solutions that promised safety and durability. These ads featured confident homeowners tackling weekend projects with products marketed as the smartest choice for protecting families. Hardware stores stocked the materials prominently, and contractors recommended them without hesitation. The commercials used reassuring language about strength and longevity, never mentioning what would happen when the fibers came loose. Families trusted these products because they seemed practical, affordable, and endorsed by experts appearing on screen with friendly smiles. Nobody imagined that the same material protecting their attic could slowly poison the air they breathed. When the connection between asbestos and deadly lung diseases became undeniable, regulators moved swiftly to ban both the products and their advertising. Homes across the country still contain materials installed during those trusting years. Today, it is haunting to watch old footage of these commercials, knowing the cheerful promises masked one of the deadliest hazards ever sold to families. You know the feeling, right? You have eaten to the point where you can barely look at the plate and think to yourself, why did I do this? Alka-Seltzer's, I can't believe I ate the whole thing.
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
Oh, where have I heard that before?
Commercial was just the kind of appeal that cracked that nerve. It didn't just sell antacids, it made us laugh at our own gluttony. One of the ads was a man complaining about how much he ate while his wife looked at him from the side. Here came Alka-Seltzer, the effervescent remedy for the crime committed against the kitchen. The tagline became so famous that it became a part of the Pop Culture Hall of Fame. Well, my dad uses it to this very day during the Thanksgiving celebration. Were you aware that this particular campaign is considered to be one of the most effective in the history of advertising? It was first aired in 1972, and the company's sales of Alka-Seltzer multiplied 2 times. It turned into a phrase for overindulging in food and showed that nothing sells like comedy and relatability. Each time I come across those tiny effervescent tablets, this advert pops into my mind. It is a message of hope for the stomach, No matter how much pie one takes, there is always a possibility. Alka-Seltzer didn't just sell a product. It gave us a catchphrase for life's tastiest mistakes. Cigarette billboards near schools were once an everyday sight, and few thought twice about it. Bright cartoon-style ads loomed over sidewalks where children walked daily, making smoking look playful and exciting. Companies filled the billboards with friendly mascots, colorful lettering, and smiling faces that seemed closer to comic strips than serious health warnings. Kids waiting for the bus could not miss them, and many grew up associating smoking with fun rather than danger. For advertisers, it was a smart way to plant brand loyalty early, long before the children could even buy their first pack. Parents often complained, but with so few restrictions at the time, tobacco companies had free rein to place ads wherever they pleased. These billboards turned neighborhoods into playgrounds of persuasion, normalizing cigarettes for a whole generation. The fact that they towered so casually near elementary schools is shocking today, but back then it was considered clever marketing. It took years of public outcry and health campaigns before regulations finally banned the practice. Until then, those billboards stood as bright, smiling invitations to a lifelong habit. Beer commercials during daytime family programming were a familiar sight in the 1980s, slipping between cartoons, sporting events, and holiday specials as if alcohol belonged alongside everything families watched. These ads featured laughing friends, summer barbecues, and celebrations that made drinking look like the natural reward for a day well spent. Children absorbed these messages alongside cereal jingles and toy promotions, learning to associate beer brands with happiness before understanding what alcohol did. Parents rarely noticed how often these commercials appeared during hours meant for young viewers, because the line between adult and family content barely existed. Nobody questioned why a product meant for adults was marketed heavily when children were watching. The ads normalized drinking in ways that shaped attitudes for an entire generation. When advocacy groups pushed for restrictions, networks slowly moved alcohol advertising to later time slots. Today, strict guidelines prevent beer commercials from airing during children's programming. But the memories of those sunny ads still linger, a reminder that advertising once reached audiences it was never supposed to influence. Maypo commercials were just silly and fun, which is exactly what made them so great. Marky, a boy in an animated commercial who does not want to take his oatmeal, wakes up to the maple-flavored Maypo. What happens next? He screams like a baby, "I want my Maypo!" as if that is the ultimate goal in life.
I want my Maypo.
Children all over America participated in it, and parents either giggled or cringed. My mom once put Maypo on my bowl of oatmeal when I refused to take my meal as a kid. It worked. I mean, who can resist maple-flavored mush? Maypo was the breakfast cereal that was popular in the 60s as a cereal children enjoyed while parents saw it as a healthy cereal for the family. The advertisements were prophetic in a way that used humor and animation to cement the brand into the public's consciousness. What you probably did not know is that Maypo was created in 1953 by the Maltex Corporation. They introduced maple sugar to the cereal range and made breakfast out of an ordinary meal into something special. Sadly, Maypo was off the air by the 80s, but the commercials remain with anyone who watched Saturday morning cartoons. This simple slogan, "I want my Maypo," became as famous as the cereal itself. Today, if you are lucky enough to get your hands on a box, please do not shout out loud about it. No, wait, shout it. It's the Maypo way. Alcohol ads using cartoon characters blurred a dangerous line between fun and adult behavior. In the 1970s, beer and liquor companies experimented with mascots and animation that looked no different from cereal commercials. Smiling animals, dancing bottles, and catchy jingles made the drinks seem playful and inviting. The strategy was deliberate. If kids found the ads entertaining, they would grow into customers who already recognized the brand. Parents might have laughed at the cartoons, never realizing how easily they bridged into children's imaginations. Teenagers were especially vulnerable because the ads seemed youthful and rebellious at the same time. Some even mimicked Saturday morning cartoon styles, slipping right into the same visual language kids trusted. Looking back, it is shocking how openly companies leaned on tactics clearly designed to catch young eyes. These ads showed how little separation there was between child-friendly entertainment and adult marketing. What we now see as exploitation was once just business as usual. Fast food ads targeting children with toy giveaways dominated commercial breaks in the 1980s, turning every meal into an excuse to collect the latest plastic treasure. These commercials featured bright colors, cartoon mascots, and jingles so catchy they lodged in memory for decades. Children begged parents to visit restaurants not for the food but for the toy hidden inside the box, and parents obliged because the ads made it seem harmless and fun. Nobody talked about the sugar, the sodium, or the calories packed into meals designed to appeal to young taste buds. The toys became status symbols on playgrounds, and kids who did not have the latest set felt left out of conversations. Advertisers knew exactly what they were doing, creating desire that had nothing to do with hunger and everything to do with collecting. When health advocates finally pushed back, regulators began restricting how fast food companies could market directly to children. Today, those toy-driven campaigns face strict limits, but the strategy shaped an entire generation's relationship with food in ways that still echo through eating habits and childhood memories. Dr. Pepper is not just a soft drink, it is a way of life.
I'm a pepper, he's a pepper, she's a pepper. If you drink Dr. Pepper, you're a pepper too. Be a pepper, drink Dr. Pepper.
Back in the 70s, the Be a Pepper campaign informed us that if we drank Dr. Pepper, we were among the coolest of the fizzy-minded. Forget soda. This was a lifestyle choice. In the commercials, people were seen dancing, singing, and asserting, "I'm a pepper, he's a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?" It was like a musical about soda that people didn't realize they needed. Well, do you know that Dr. Pepper is the oldest major soft drink in America, which was first introduced in 1885? This campaign brought it back into the limelight with a new generation and repositioned it as the crazy cola cousin. My uncle still refers to himself as a pepper, and to be quite frank, me too. The beauty of the Be a Pepper advertisements was that they were so all-embracing. Anyone could be a pepper as long as they had a can in their hand. It was not only soda, it was pride. Today, the jingle resides in the free memory of anyone who has ever been exposed to it as a child. And every time I open a Dr. Pepper, I feel like I am in the most elite group of people out there. Here for being a pepper, because people who drink regular soda just don't understand. Weight loss ads pushing amphetamines were disturbingly casual in their approach. In glossy magazines and late-night commercials, energy pills were marketed as the perfect way to slim down quickly. The ads promised not only rapid weight loss, but also more energy, more confidence, and even better moods. Teenagers and adults alike saw these products as modern miracles, never realizing the dangers hidden inside. Amphetamines were presented as harmless aids, often alongside smiling women in bikinis or business attire. Doctors were quoted or actors posed as experts, lending the campaigns a false sense of authority. For young women especially, the pressure to stay thin made these ads incredibly powerful. Families flipped through pages that treated dangerous substances like harmless supplements. The shocking part is how normalized it was, as though popping pills was no different from drinking a cup of coffee. These ads highlight just how far companies went to profit off insecurity, no matter the cost. Sugary cereal ads claiming health benefits filled Saturday morning airwaves in the 1980s with animated mascots, catchy jingles, and bold promises that made parents believe breakfast could be nutritious and fun. These commercials showed children bouncing with energy, excelling at sports, and outsmarting their friends, all supposedly thanks to a bowl of sugar-coated flakes. Phrases like "part of a complete breakfast" sat beside images of toast and juice, making cereal seem essential rather than optional. Parents trusted these claims because they came from brands feeding families for generations. Nobody questioned whether a product loaded with sugar could actually fuel growing bodies. Children begged for the cereals they saw on television, and parents obliged, believing the advertisements spoke truth. When nutritional research caught up with marketing, regulators began cracking down on misleading health claims aimed at young audiences. Today, those exaggerated promises would never survive federal scrutiny. The cereal aisle still sparkles with colorful boxes, but the wild claims of the 80s have been quietly retired, reminding us how easily trust can be manufactured. Sometimes you just feel that life is too much and all you want is a burger. The McDonald's "You Deserve a Break Today" commercial from the 70s made all of us feel like we could say, "Yeah, I've earned this."
You deserve a break today, yeah.
It wasn't just about fast food, it was about self-care with fries. In the commercial, people were smiling and eating McDonald's food after they had come from work. The jingle is catchy and hard to forget, like ketchup stuck on the fries. It convinced you that a Big Mac was the ultimate prize for growing up. Here's a fun nugget. This campaign assisted McDonald's in their change from being known as a quick meal place to becoming a family restaurant. The ads were so good that they have been remade several times, but there's no substitute for the first. Well, I must confess, each time I am at the drive-thru, I sing this song in my mind. It's practically Pavlovian. And to be quite frank, they were not entirely wrong. It's nice to be able to sink your teeth into a cheeseburger you didn't have to cook yourself after a long day at work. The campaign may be gone, but the message remains. Treat yourself. And if that treat happens to come with a Happy Meal toy, even better. Candy ads promising popularity targeted kids at their most vulnerable. Campaigns suggested that eating a certain chocolate bar or chewing a particular gum would instantly make you more likable. The message was not subtle. Kids without the candy were left out, while the lucky ones were surrounded by friends. Commercials staged playground scenes where sharing sweets magically transformed social status. For children desperate to fit in, the implication was irresistible. Candy was not just a treat, it was the key to belonging. Parents often saw the ads as harmless fun, never realizing how much pressure it put on their kids. The reality was that sugar companies were selling more than sweets. They were selling acceptance. Looking back, it is startling how manipulative the strategy was, dressed up in jingles and smiling faces. Candy may have tasted sweet, but the message left behind was bitter. The promise of instant popularity was a powerful, if damaging, hook. Diet pill ads with unproven weight loss claims flooded television screens in the 1980s, offering miracle transformations with nothing more than a bottle of capsules. These commercials showed before and after photos so dramatic they seemed impossible, featuring people who claimed to have lost dozens of pounds without exercise or dieting. The pills promised to melt fat, boost metabolism, and reshape bodies while viewers slept. Women, especially targeted by these ads, believed the testimonials because they came from people who looked like neighbors sharing success stories. Nobody questioned whether the claims were true or whether ingredients were safe. Parents kept these bottles in medicine cabinets alongside vitamins, trusting that anything sold on national television must have passed some kind of approval. When regulators finally demanded clinical evidence for weight loss claims, most of these products vanished overnight. The ads that once promised effortless transformation became symbols of an era that sold hope without proof. Today, strict guidelines prevent such bold claims from reaching the airwaves, but the memory of those miracle pills lingers uncomfortably. If these banned commercials brought back memories of laughing at the television, tell us your favorites in the comments. Tap like to keep the nostalgia alive, and subscribe so you never miss another trip into advertising history.